Welcome everyone, Adam the Woo here. Today's adventure begins shortly after 5 a.m. I'm standing at this cross street, the entrance to Venice Beach, California. Touch of evil. I have some screen grabs. I have been researching, watching continuously the 1958 classic film noir. Orson Welles directed, starred Janet Leigh, Charlton Heston. It's one of my favorites. If you're not familiar with it, I highly recommend. Quite groundbreaking when it comes to filmmaking, as any Orson Welles movie is. And it took place right behind me, quite a bit of it, down that street. Now, a lot has changed since the late 50s. And there's not much that looks as if it would match up. But oh, do not be confused. I have a plethora of proof here. I'm inviting you to join me. It's early. I want to get down here before the congregations of folks, the crowds, the music, the hootenannies and hullabaloo. I'm inviting you to join me. Shall you? A really great mural here, painted by the artist Never, shows what this area looked like back then. Take a look at this. It just so happens that this building was seen in the film itself. I recommend, if you're going to watch it, watch the reconstructed version, which was based on Welles' 58-page memo. There are 3 versions of the film. The one I would watch is based on what he really wanted. Just my opinion. One of the most impressive beginnings and opening sequence in film history, up to that point, took place right here on this very road. Begins with a guy winding up the timer, places the item right here in the back of a trunk of this vehicle, of the car, which kind of begins the entire sequence. The car turns that way and heads over onto that road there. It was a very complex series of events, a lot going on. It was 3 or 4 minutes long, no edits, just all one take. A crane that not only started from the upper level, started from the ground level, then went up high, and you can see most of the pillars have been removed. There's only a very select handful of the original pillars that stretch down this little thoroughfare here that still exists. Right here on Windward, in fact, there was a big hotel that used to sit right here that was used very prominently. They turned this corner. Now, it's kind of confusing, but they did not turn the corner up there onto what is referred to as the Speedway, which is the next little street up. They turned this very corner, and there were automobiles driving, very busy through here, which is now just used basically as a walkway. But it was right here that there was an officer directing traffic. The car in question returned here and followed Charlton Heston and Janet Leigh right down here to cross over the fictional border, which was right up there. This is an example of what I'm referring to here as they turn right around there. I'm going to walk down now. You get just a few steps to about here was where kind of a herd of goats were, and Heston kind of pointed and laughed that there was some animals here in the road. And that would have happened right about in this section. And they carried all still one take, straight this way. There was a checkpoint here, kind of like a little guard station. I think that this building was not here in 58, as much as it looks like it would have been. It's kind of confusing because this building was not here in the late 50s. Just about in this section is when they approach here to this gentleman. Now, as stated, the building behind them is not the same. It is now this one, which has those distinct pillars. And the explosion happens, and you would think it was this building behind Charlton. But technically the one with the pillars was here, where this cafe and bar is. I'll show you what I mean. As they run over to see what happened with the car, the explosion, they are kind of running at a quick, very quick pace along here. Now the building has been demolished and a new one in its place, or it has been repurposed. But the thing I'm really noticing is the pole behind it, and at the top of the pole there is a Fate street sign. Can barely make it out, but it says Horizon. Yeah, right there, Horizon, where they were running, which is that very sign. Obviously the sign has been replaced, but the same cross streets, Horizon. Putting the burning car right along this sidewalk. It's been repaved over time, but somewhere in here would have been where that fountain was and the car that was on fire, right in this section. Even the angle of the sidewalk kind of is similar. Standing in this precise spot here. Now it is a little misleading because you would assume that that was it, but I also counted the number of pillars, and there are 2 to 3 more on this one versus the one that was here. On a side note, a little later in the film, when he is in a hurry, Heston turns this corner in his car and kind of runs into a guy when he's panicking looking for his wife. Back over to windward now, where a lot of the action, most of everything took place that we can recall, kind of etched in our minds from that classic. And right here was the hotel. They filmed most of the interiors. There were very few sets, only 1 or 2 sets were used. Even the exteriors, you know, the rooms and stuff inside of those exteriors were used, including what is now, well, the metal gates are down, but these stores here was the hotel. Looks virtually nothing like it did. This would be the same, looking the same way there that it did back then, right? Now that archway behind them, that still remains, but these pillars are now replaced with palm trees where they're walking. And the giveaway that really helps us match everything up is going to be this fire hydrant here, which I will show quite a few times over the course of this. When he has the acid thrown at him, notice the building behind him there. Now that, if I can assume, is that building, kind of the notches on the top, in the center of the screen. It had a very unique vibe. Well, it still kind of has a very unique vibe, but, and I'm also at ground level, so I can't get up. It was kind of more like that, looking down here as he crossed over the street. Notice the 4 archways and 5 poles there. That would be what we're looking at from this angle. It's having a tough time focusing under the shroud of nightfall. The sun should be rising soon, which is very interesting because that's when they filmed that opening scene, which would have been through here. Using not only this fire hydrant as reference, but there's also a hydrant over there as well, and that will help us look at this, where Orson Welles himself, you see there's the other hydrant that I just pointed out right over there. It's the little things you got to look for to figure things like this out. Now this window that you see right there, the center of the screen, is where the guy was looking out, spying on Janet Leigh's character, which was right up here. It took place in a window that she was looking out, and she noticed, why is that guy shining a flashlight out that window at me? She removed the light bulb from her room and threw it across into his window. Same window. It's gotten a new paint job, maybe some stucco, just to kind of fix it up, but that's it. Right there. Little film history. Take a look at the way the kind of jolts in there, the indentation, the brickwork, and the size of the window itself. after all these years. It's been kind of redesigned, some new tile work, but still the same. Got the low angle camera down on the ground. There's that hydrant on the bottom corner. I'll match this up. And notice how here on this end, this building's gone. There's that window there, camera down low. Something just about like this, from this perspective, more or less. Pretty cool. Keep that reference point in mind, the hydrant there, because the building, yeah, the building has been completely demolished. But there's that hydrant. So I get the camera down low, kind of how it was. There it is. A really clear one of Orson himself there in the corner. And I like this because in this frame you have where the liquor store was on that window and those pillars there. Yeah, as it kind of fades in. Pretty neat. Orson Welles himself, one of the greatest directors. Walking across there. No longer an active road, at least the spot I'm at, but once again, there's the hydrant, and there's the window, and those other pillars. This is just basically a walkway now, but this is where they did the U-turn in the car after walking out of that hotel, where a fantastic elevator scene took place, where the three guys got on, and it was one long take up the elevator. Just kind of have to watch it to know what I'm talking about, where that took place right inside the building that was there. It's just about 6 a.m. Really getting the feeling as if I'm in the movie, even though most of it took place in the evening. That very extensive opening scene, they did it a few times, and the very last take is the one they used. And if you look closely, you can kind of see that nightfall was ending and the sun was kind of peeking up. Not quite, but kind of similar to how it is at this very moment. And that fictional border crossing was right there. Right in the middle. Just to see if they kept any kind of correlation to the real spots. The club, which would have been that building there. Let's see what around the backside looks like. Also, when Vargas is chasing the guy that tried to harm him, you can kind of see this perspective as well. Over here were some carts and whatnot that they were kind of running through, and he wasn't able to catch him. But down here is where Orson walked out of, and I just want to see if this could be the place, if it still looks the same or if it was somewhere else. Has changed quite a bit, but what I'm focusing on are these two very elongated windows, and the small window and that power pole. My guess is the Cabaret Club sign was there. The guys would have walked out of what has these repurposed doors and new brickwork. But there are those lengthy windows, the two of them, followed by the small window and power pole. Now, I have no proof of this, but dang, that could very well be, it. Right there. I'm gonna say yes. The amount of fog through here really also adds to the ambiance. This is also a remaining facade, well, exterior. I get excited, about this kind of stuff. Think of it, 1958, something that really has importance in movie history. Parts of it still exist. Boy, it's very foggy. What I want to point out with this is the little balcony here on this end and the number of arches. Now, these pillars really are the only ones left in this little section through here. All been changed. End of the road, there's that balcony and the proper amount of windows and pillars. She had the little conversation there. Still exists, at least a portion of it for now. Another reason I wanted to document this, because you never know when some of these are going to be torn down and all of it's gone forever. Gonna head from here. By the way, the beach is just right there. You can faintly Hear the waves crashing very, very faintly. Going to pass by this landmark that has been utilized in helping, and that window up there, and go over 1 block down this alley to Market Street. Just 1 road over to the Ritz Hotel, which stood right in this very spot. Oh yes, look. There are markings from where the pillars were. Look. Yes, the pillar markings are still here. And there is a tricycle chained up. Wow. Oh, look at this. This tile work and bricks. Still the same all this time later. Wow. When Vargas is driving through, you can see him kind of screaming and yelling there in his car. But there's the pillars, and look at the tile work here. There's those markings. That's incredible, still there. Modern day, look at it. Still some remnants. That tile, it really gets me. Here's a far away angle. See the sign stating Ritz Hotel. I'm really liking this fog. It really does add to the experience. The darkness, the sun just slowly rising, and the fog. There was also a cross kind of dangling there from the side of this one. So the Ritz was over here. You see him kind of speeding through. This building also still remains with tile work. And the little bracket where that cross was hanging seems to still be up there, like they're in the middle of the screen. See that little rusted out bracket? That's so good. Now looking back the other way, and there's where the Ritz was, but there's also that very distinct, pattern on the brickwork there. See? More or less from this way. Another car pulled out in front of Vargas there from what was, I believe, was a parking lot that has been filled in. But that's where that happened. Up on the balcony, or up on the ledge, she was yelling for her husband, and kind of in that, just kind of above where the light was, you could really kind of see she had quite a few folks down here wondering what she was doing. But there's that brickwork over there, and the pillars that these people are looking out of were on the other side of the road. Those have been removed. There are no markings on that sidewalk, but there are still some here, which kind of blows my mind a little bit. To think about all this happened right there. She was right about there. She was in danger. Here it is, one of the pillars, and that brickwork, meaning the pillar would have been right here, and that brickwork right there, looking down this very foggy road. Had a photograph taken of her. She turned around to look at the cute little baby. There's kind of where that would have happened, more or less. I'm totally nerding out here. Also use this as interiors, as shown here. The brick would have been gone. There would have been a glass window. They were filming out of it, looking across the way. All right here. Walked a couple blocks, kind of throwing that walk scenario in because there's a bunch of shoes up there. At the corner of Innes Place and once again Horizon Ave, and this is where the officer was driving along here. That building still remains there, and turned this corner here and pulled in to a spot there. And this building here has a lot of significance, even though it has been kind of repurposed, repainted. Maybe the exterior touched up just a bit, the balconies remain. This is a very important piece of Touch of Evil. Orson Welles, Heston, get out of this car. Now you see that they have built this little wall, but those windows, balcony, and the apartment in question, well, not in question, the uncertainty was right there that they entered and had a lot of discussions in. Even the store across the way, it's been kind of painted, but that's it over there, still there. Almost looks like the bottom of the balconies are still in the same fashion. So, you know, he would have come out of the door there. But look at the bottom here. Look at just the way they're worked. Now they did use a sound stage for the inside, but there are a couple of occasions when the actor and director were standing right there next to those mailboxes. Example being this, as he's going in, there's those mailboxes behind him. And for a moment can get a peek into the room itself, not the sound stage. It's apartment number 1 when that door was open there. And there's a couple of frames where those windows are open and they're looking out into the road. There's a store owned by a blind woman that was right here where this is. As seen from this perspective, as they walked out of the door, they're kind of on the porch area, more or less, looking over into the road. One of those moments out of the interior, those windows, would be this one. And you could see them right here. There was like a little oil spill from the cars. That store would have been right about here. Oh, this is good as well. Look at the staircase over there and the formation of that building, which is right there, still remains. Just down the way about 2 addresses. This just proves how much things really change over many, many decades. Hello, bird. It's a seagull flying by in the fog. Another use of a practical interior, looking out at the exteriors. He's on the phone, and there's a little bit of an argument happening, trying to get him to go inside over there. Love it. I don't know why I get so excited about this stuff, but it's really fascinating to me. There's a garbage truck in the distance. Sometimes I wonder if the people that live in these places have any idea of the movie history, or any history that they reside in. Some probably don't. Sunlight is, whoa, oh my gosh, there's a flock of birds. Look at this. Oh, what the Hitchcock would be not only proud, but also used this film for, yeah, there's a hotel scene with Janet Leigh. You do the math. It's been documented. Hitchcock would be proud. Which I should also throw in, we'll not be going to where the motel was. It's a couple hours from here in the middle of the desert, and it's completely gone. It's now a residential cul-de-sac. I'm now gonna head into my car and take a cruise down the speedway to another spot where the very first time that, not using a backdrop, the first time ever on film that actors were driving in a car with nothing behind, you know, nothing fake behind them. Pretty interesting. And also, Orson Welles originally was not going to direct the movie until Heston talked it over at the studio and said, you know, he's a pretty good director. You're going to have him play the villain. Why not have him direct it? And the rest is history. Both the actors in the vehicle, they removed the windshield, camera mounted on the front of the car, sound equipment in the trunk, and they sped through here very quickly through this alley known as the Speedway. They were moving fast. Pretty neat how they did it. A couple of landmarks through this section that can match up, including, oh, it looks like someone is utilizing the Speedway. Well, I'm on the Speedway, but they're passing the Speedway at a very speedy ratio. These two still look identical. And they obviously blocked, if you look closely, you can see they blocked off the streets. They didn't want any pedestrians or cars, you know, smashing into them while they did it, because they were moving very quickly, starting down that way. And yeah, it really turned out really good the way it looks. A groundbreaking first in the world of cinema. Say the, oh, very bumpy. Right over here to this side, you can see this as well, looking back the other direction. Notice how all this matches up as well, as they're just kind of cruising right through that angle. That's the building they passed. Nice. Heading a couple miles away now to where the climactic ending took place. Wait, it's still really foggy. But first, on a walk down Privateer or Privateer Street. I use the word street loosely because it's more just like a walkway. I saw an interview about 12-15 years ago. It was recorded. There was a guy through here stating that this bungalow, at the time there was oil fields through here, but even since that time frame, it has been removed. It used to sit right here next to this place with the fireplace. That's the way I matched that up. The fireplace there from that interview 15 years ago, and this was shown, but now it is gone. This is only a couple blocks from the bridge from the insane, which means that Vargas would have been up there getting a bird's eye perspective on one of the oil rigs looking down, which leads me to an assumption that right here on quarterdeck, which would have been just a guess, this is my best educated guess, where Marlene Dietrich, her place would have been. Possibly. Just guessing. Because if you look very closely, you'll see the address of 21. You zoom in on that little piece of wood holding up the porch. Neither one of these spots still remain, but the address still says 21. And if you watch that scene, kind of goes over this way and you could see a car going by, and there is a road over there, which means Marlene's spot could have been right there. This says he's looking across from number 21. And those oil rigs all around the beach right there. There were oil rigs all down the beach as well. The water's right there. There it is. Still exists. The bridge where Quinlan met his demise. Vargas wading around in the water below it, trying to get him to confess the tape recorder. Heston traversing around in that dirty, murky water. Looks like the only major difference is the top railing portion. You know, it looks like it's all made of concrete. So just where the walkway, like the hand railing, has been replaced. But yeah, other than that, this is it. Still here. This is so good. Where most of the action took place, it was on this side of the bridge as opposed to the other. And the way I'm figuring that is because the road is so close here as opposed to down on that end where it's another maybe 20, 30, 40 yards, where shown here the car's pulling off. See, the road's there, which is a really good way. It's like a pretty good chunk of area as opposed to this side where it's just right here off the road. And that means a lot of stuff happened right down there. Can't help but think about that moment with Joseph Kalia's character here. A little altercation, and he was kind of leaning over the railing. See if I can find that angle. It's a very confused Orson down there, playing his role, which would have been just about there. This is amazing. This is the spot. by focusing on the brickwork, you can really line everything up. Now this metal beam is gone, and the railing, as stated, changed, but those bricks, yeah, those bricks and the decaying of the cracks kind of prove the spot. There was almost like a decorative concrete piece above it at the top, which also has been removed. But right there on that little ledge is where that kind of decorative piece was. But see, the brickwork's still here. Kind of rummaging around there with the recording device. Right down there in this little hidden area. Over time, it appears as if they've tried to repair the current bridge, where there's Heston down there in the water. The two actors up top walking across, but you could see the decay still to this day. It is still decaying over here, and you see they patched up from what was there in '58, but it still continues to decompose and break up. It's interesting because it looks the same, you know, when you watch, even though it has been kind of attempted to be fixed. Oh, I just heard a bird fly by. Oh, a flock. There's a couple more going by. You scared? Touch of evil. Oh yeah, here's a good one. He's reaching out. It's Heston. I just think that's so neat. And the final moments of Quinlan as he sat right here where I'm standing. This little incline and the angle upward with his friend laying up there, his partner. And then he stood up, stumbled into the water here, fell back into the shallow water, kind of floated right there. And up at the top, Marlene Dietrich was going across the bridge and delivered the final line of the film. On the corner of Pacific Ave and Lighthouse Street. Where the former oil rigs were. You can see the road. You can even see a newer sidewalk over there. And that's the angle. Dang, that's awesome. That's going to do it for today. If you're new here, please subscribe. By doing so, helps keep you in the loop, up to date on future uploads here on this channel. If you enjoyed this particular episode, give it a big thumbs up. It lets me know you care. And I'll see you in the next video. This was a lot of fun. I wanted to do this for a while, and I finally did it. The vlog is over.